Sa pagtatapos ng Davao Agri-Trade Expo 2023,
in the spirit of nation building. Only here on SMNI.
This is SMNI News Channel. Truth that matters.
Good evening, Philippines, and good day, world. It's Tuesday, October 3rd, 2023, and you're watching Newsline World. I'm Mayk Oliveira.
And I'm Deivid Lira. We are here to bring you the top stories we gather from all over the globe.
Pastor Apollo Quiboloy defends Vice President Sara Duterte against critics and CPP-NPA sympathizers over the confidential funds issue.
The U.S. government narrowly avoided a government shutdown for now. Both Republicans and Democrats are still wrestling over funding, particularly in the border crisis, and providing more military aid for Ukraine.
Slovakia elects a pro-Russia candidate who vowed to stop sending military aid for Kiev.
Maldives also held its election and made a pro-China candidate president.
And Iran is eyeing to build a naval base in Antarctica. These and more for tonight's edition of Newsline World. First in the news, PhilHealth admits that their antivirus protection was not updated, and this is why Medusa ransomware was able to hack their system. But now that the website and other operations are back online, the state insurer is making sure it won't
17 million pesos in exchange for the obtained data. But PhilHealth once again stood firm that the government will not pay. The state insurer added that it is not worried about such threats because it is possible that the hackers will release only fabricated data.
We're not worried because the membership data has not been breached, no? Again, we have nothing to hide in PhilHealth. The membership records are intact. If that's going to be fabricated records or unreal, true, I don't know, diba? Well, hopefully ma-determine na lang ng public, diba? What's right and what's not, no? What's true and what's not, no?
Several PhilHealth online services are back in operation, including their website, member portal, and e-claims, while the data recovery of other systems, such as the HCI portal and application server, continues. PhilHealth admitted that the reason hackers were able to breach into the system was because they had yet to update their antivirus protection.
We have antivirus in general, antivirus, anti-cyber security, but it is not updated. Probably that's where the hackers came in, probably through that weakness.
PhilHealth explained that their antivirus protection was not updated because there was a problem with its renewal. It is said that the Government Procurement Policy Board has become strict in procurement rules and regulations.
Nagkaroon tayo ng gap within this year wherein we weren't able to procure your renewal for that protection.
We were affected by the recent issuance of the GPPB because we were set to renew the subscription licenses antivirus for another year. However, due to the recent issuance of GPPB, that procurement and extension and renewal of all regular items, procurement items, including this antivirus, shall be the maximum of 3 years. That's why we were caught off guard.
But PhilHealth assured the public that this kind of cyber attack will not happen again. The state insurer is completing the procurement process of antivirus protection that they are using regularly. PhilHealth management has also approved the emergency procurement of an incident response system that will help prevent similar cyber attacks in the future.
I'd like to think, though, that we are doing all we can, or doing the best we can, to prepare ourselves best. No?
Yes, we assure the public that we can address whatever attack that may happen now and in the future. That's why our President and CEO approved the emergency procurement of the incident response system and services. And this will prevent any present attack and any attack in the future.
For God and my beloved Philippines, I am Jason Rubrico, SM9 News.
The Food Terminal Incorporated, or FTI, has laid out a program to achieve food sufficiency for the Marcos Jr. administration. MJ Modahar, tell us more.
President Bongbong Marcos has made achieving food sufficiency in the Philippines a top priority. One key to achieving this is ensuring proper storage for harvests of both farmers and fishermen. To fulfill this goal, the new management of the Food Terminal Incorporated, or FTI, has devised ways to reach the president's target. According to its president and CEO, Attorney Lira, their goal is to establish regional food terminals throughout the country.
When it comes to food sufficiency, ang una natin dyan is storage, di ba? Kasi yung mga food is hindi naman siya pare-pareho na season, yun talaga yung product niya, ganun talaga yung volume niya. So, if like may surplus ng tomatoes like from the north, and then darating yung season na konti yung harvest ng tomatoes, at least merong nakastore ng mga produce para sa mga tao.
The plan doesn't stop at just establishing regional food terminals. It's about catering to each region's specific produce. Some areas are known for their vegetables and fruits, while others excel in seafood and other marine products. Therefore, the construction of their cold storage facilities will depend on each region's requirements.
Kung ano yung necessity mo, like in Davao, we are looking at fruits and vegetables. However, in Pangasinan, we are looking at marine products. So magkaiba yung requirement ng dalawa.
There are two operational regional food terminals in the country, one in Davao and one in Taguig. The FTI's Taguig cold storage facility houses 14 reefer vans that are mobile and can be relocated to different areas using trailer trucks. The rent for each reefer van is set at 5,000 peso per day, but FTI aims to negotiate lower rates with farmer and fisher cooperatives. Once all regional food terminals become operational, farmers and fishermen will no longer be at the mercy of traders and middlemen. The operation is also expected to reduce food prices by 30% to 40%.
Kasi ang ginagawa namin ngayon is research, and then we coordinate with LGUs with their cooperatives per locality, and then dun na direkta makikipag-deal si FTI. So doon kami sa mga farmers mismo, sa mga fisher folks mismo.
FTI was established during the time of former President Ferdinand E. Marcos Sr., who also oversaw its management. At that time, FTI was the largest cold storage facility in Asia. Although it was slated for privatization in the previous administration, former President Rodrigo Duterte granted FTI another 50 years to operate. Now, the son of the late President Marcos Sr., President Bongbong Marcos Jr., is managing the facility. And it's a great opportunity to restore FTI's former glory for the nation.
FTI was built by his father, and we are here to help. We are here to serve.
As of the moment, more cold storage facilities are being built in different key cities in the Philippines, especially there in Cebu and Lingayen, Pangasinan. For Ganababul of Philippines, MJ Mondihar, SM9 News.
Thailand is expecting 140 million baht worth of revenue from Chinese tourists during the 5-month holiday period for the visa exemption program. Anissa de Guzma will give us the details.
Thailand's visa waiver scheme for Chinese and Kazakhstani nationals has officially started on September 25th and will run until February of next year. In its first week, the government witnessed a strong response from Chinese tourists, with the influx of visitors promising millions of dollars in revenue after the program. Chinese and Kazakhstani tourists are taking advantage of Thailand's 30-day tourist visa exemption scheme. More than 22,000 Chinese travelers entered Thailand in the first 2 days of the program. The government expects to attract 2.9 million visitors and generate 140.3 million baht in tourism revenue in the next 5 months alone. According to Prime Minister Sara Duterte, temporary waiving visas for Chinese and Kazakh tourists is part of the government's measure to jumpstart the slow economic recovery and prevent the country from slipping into recession. The Chinese tourists were the largest group of visitors to Thailand before the pandemic, with the country hosting about 40 million foreign arrivals in 2019. Meanwhile, the Tourism Authority of Thailand has increased its estimated target for international tourism visits to 25 million by the end of the year. The president of the Thai-Chinese Chamber of Commerce said that the ongoing conflict between China and the United States can also create opportunities for Thailand. The organization expects an upsurge in Chinese investors but advised the government to remain neutral in its bilateral ties with both Beijing and Washington. Disha Nanisa de Guzman Rangan Chakuntep Mahanakon, SMNA News, Pratatay, Sawadika.
To boost its economy and lure more foreign investors through the signing of free trade agreement with several countries. Shatbongkon Pisamay-Gozon has the details.
Thai Prime Minister Sethar Thavisin announced his commitment to transform the country into a major foreign investment destination. The Southeast Asian nation is aiming to finalize 3 free agreements or FTAs in 2024.
Thailand's Ministry of Commerce anticipates completion of 3 FTAs with the United Arab Emirates, Sri Lanka, and the European Free Trade Association in the second and third quarters of 2024. The 3 markets are considered significant and will provide a combined trade value of up to $31 billion every year. FTA negotiations with Sri Lanka have reached their 6th round and are expected to conclude by early 2024, while Thai officials are expecting to close a deal with the European Free Trade Association by mid-2024. Meanwhile, negotiations with the UAE are expected to conclude within this year, following 4 rounds of talks.
Free trade negotiations with the UAE starting in July, with 80% of the discussions nearly completed. รายงานจากกรุงเทพมหานคร นายชัดมงคลวิสมัยโกศล SMS ประเทศไทย สวัสดีครับ
More news when Newsline World returns.
There is no country like the Philippines. This is the most beautiful country in the world.
Dapat lahat ng Pilipino magmahal sa Pilipinas.
365 days, 52 weeks, 8,760 hours, 24/7 uninterrupted service, all in the service of God and country. Indeed made a significant difference for the Philippines and the lives of every Filipino. But we will not stop here. This is just the beginning.
We already have that image right now of SMNI, that SMNI is only standing for the truth. That SMNI and its credibility is inviolable. That SMNI and its integrity is not for sale. That is the image that SMNI right now, because credibility to us is more than $1 billion pesos, as long as our credibility stands, that we are telling only the truth. That's why the tagline of SMNI is truth that matters.
For nation building, for upholding truth over narrative, for our beloved country, this is SMNI.
Kabayan! Oo, ikaw. Alam mo ba na you can win lots of prizes when you bring home a guest in the Philippines? The Department of Tourism brings you the Visita Be My Guest program. Joining is easy. 1. Sign up as a sponsor. You can do this via the official BBMG website. All Filipinos of legal age living in the Philippines or abroad can join. 2. Invite your guests. The more you invite, the more chances of winning. And 3. Travel to the Philippines and upload your proof of travel to complete the registration process and earn e-raffle tickets and the BBNG travel passport and privilege card that you can use to get discounts as you travel around our award-winning destinations in the Philippines. Join now and get a chance to win in any of the 3 raffle dates in 2023. So what are you waiting for? Come home and bring your guests to the Philippines. Sign up, invite friends and family, and travel to the world's leading beach and dive destination and the world's leading country destination for tourism, the Philippines. Bisita, be my guest in the Philippines.
Back in the news, the United States avoided a government shutdown after its Congress passed a stopgap funding bill. But what does this mean? Federico Veloso will give us more details live. Fred?
Yes, Mike, it's crisis averted for now. The United States heaved a sigh of short-term relief after Biden signs a stopgap funding bill with a little time to spare.
The bill is passed, and without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid on the table.
The Congress managed to pass the bill with a little drama after Democrat Representative Jamal Bowman pulled a fire alarm in a Capitol office for allegedly attempting to delay the voting. Bowman, who is currently under investigation because of what happened, apologized and said the action was unintentional. The stopgap bill, which was immediately signed by President Joe Biden, funds the U.S. government at the current $1.6 trillion annual rate until the November 17 deadline. Lawmakers need to pass another bill to avoid a government shutdown. The stopgap bill funds food, federal wages, and assistance programs, although it's missing the provisions on border policy changes and the aid to Ukraine. The U.S. has already supplied some $46 billion in military aid to Ukraine since February 2022. Biden has requested another $24 billion for Kyiv. In recent months, the U.S. has sent military equipment, including long-range missiles and Abrams tanks. However, the recently signed stopgap funding bill did not include the $6 billion in additional military aid for Ukraine requested by the White House. Although Biden commended averting the shutdown, he insisted on providing more aid to Kyiv.
We cannot, under any circumstance, allow American support for Ukraine to be interrupted. I fully expect the Speaker to keep his commitment to secure the passage and support needed to help Ukraine as they defend themselves against aggression and brutality. And folks, overwhelmingly, there's overwhelming number of Republicans and Democrats in both the House and the Senate who support Ukraine. Let's vote on it. And I want to assure our American allies and the American people and the people of Ukraine that you can count on our support. We will not walk away.
Meanwhile, U.S. Republican Speaker Kevin McCarthy from the Republican Party blasted the Democrat-led Senate and Biden over appropriation bills and the country's border crisis.
The Senate has produced not one appropriation bill through the floor. The House, more than 70% of discretionary spending has now passed. I do not believe our troops need to be punished for us not getting the work done. So I ask Congress, we'll stay in session the next 2 weeks, continue to work to get this done. But you cannot look the men and women in our military in the eye and ask them why they are not going to be able to pay their bills because the Senate hasn't done their work. Look, I know a lot of you always ask me all the negative questions. I'm sure every bet you had was government was going to shut down. I don't know how many times you're going to count us out. But if there's one thing you should start understanding, not just that I'll never give up, but I'm a type of conservative that wants to get things done. It's easy to be a conservative that wants to do nothing. But I believe America wants to find the conservative that can make government work efficiently, effectively, and accountable. And that's exactly what we're doing in our appropriations process. In the wasteful spending, in the wokeism, but most importantly, secure our border. Our president, who never once talked to any of us during this challenge of the government shutting down. He watches night after night how thousands of people cross this border illegally because of his policies. The largest number ever in the last month. For 50 years, he has been in elected office. He has been to more dinners with Hunter Biden's business partners than he has gone to the border. Things has got to change. Our border has to be secure.
In a CBS interview, McCarthy said that he remains committed to helping Ukraine throughout its conflict with Russia. However, U.S. border security issues should be a bigger priority for American lawmakers. He also stressed the importance of securing Americans' own interests, as more Americans are dying in the border than Americans dying in Ukraine, and suggested the future financial aid for Ukraine must contain provisions to ensure American border security. Meanwhile, Ina Tahen, an economic and political affairs commentator, said that if the short-term funding had not been approved, ordinary Americans, including government workers and people at various service industries, will be affected directly, and the stopgap funding bill is not a final solution to huge bipartisan divisions.
Between 3.5 and 4 million paychecks to government workers, but not Congress, would have been stopped. Services from parks to air traffic control would have been affected. Financial risk of a second downgrade by one of the major rating agencies would have caused significant economic damage. There are a lot of contracts that require at least 2 rating agencies to give a AAA plus in order for school districts, municipalities to hold money with them. If one of those went away, since there's 3 and one has already downgraded, it would have caused havoc within the bond markets themselves, which are already reeling. Well, let's put this into focus. The main argument focuses on about $120 billion in cuts the Republicans hardliners want to make. The total budget is around $5.8 trillion. Discretionary funding, $1.6 trillion. Projected deficit, $1.2 trillion. Department of Defense, $1.77 trillion will be going to them with no cuts. The real choice here is between the welfare of the people or warfare. There's nothing to be done. I mean, there's no solutions, just polarized positions. In 45 days, we're looking at either another continuing resolution or a government shutdown.
Mayk and Estunjan has said the U.S. will either find another continuing resolution or will face a government shutdown if they fail to pass it by November 17. Back to you, Mayk.
Thank you very mumuch. That's Federico Veloso live on SMNI Studios.
Slovakia's election victor vows no more military aid to Ukraine, opting for more humanitarian support and pushing for peace talks. Andrea Santos has the details.
Robert Fico, the leader of Slovakia's winning party, Slovak Social Democracy, has announced that they won't support sending more military aid to Ukraine. In the recent parliamentary elections, SMRSD secured first place with around 23% of the vote. Fico stated that Slovakia and its people have bigger problems than Ukraine. He emphasized that if his party formed a government, they would be willing to help Ukraine in a humanitarian way and support reconstruction efforts. Slovakia, an EU and NATO member, has already provided military equipment to Ukraine, including armored personnel carriers and fighter jets. Fico called for peace negotiations to end the conflict between Moscow and Kiev, stating that further violence benefits no one. The formation of a coalition government will be necessary in Slovakia, as no party won a majority. The pro-European HLAS Voice Party, which secured the third position with 14.7%, has not ruled out a possible alliance with SMRSD. Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orbán, another EU and NATO member who refuses to provide military aid to Ukraine, congratulated Fico on his election victory, expressing his willingness to work together. Concerns have arisen in the U.S. over Fico's election win. Russian foreign intelligence claims that the United States had sought to keep the previous Slovakian government in power. Slovakian President Zuzana Kaputova is expected to ask Fico to form a new government soon. Reporting, this is Andrea Santos, SMNI News.
North Korea criticized the nuclear watchdog of the UN after it criticized Pyongyang's nuclear development. Jane Cognita reports.
Last week, the International Atomic Energy Agency, or IAEA member states at the 67th General Conference in Vienna, Austria, adopted a resolution urging North Korea to suspend its nuclear weapons program and abide by its obligations under UN Security Council resolutions. But this was met by a strong rejection from Pyongyang and called IAEA a reptile organization that serves the U.S. The unnamed spokesman also accused IAEA Chief Rafael Grossi of taking the lead in creating the atmosphere of pressurizing North Korea by spreading a false story about an imminent nuclear test. To recall, in 2022, Grossi warned that North Korea could resume its nuclear testing for the first time since 2017. It can be noted that the IAEA has had zero access to North Korea since it expelled its inspectors in 2009. Last week, North Korea made nuclear weapons status a part of its constitution. This further increases the tensions that have already been escalating in the North Korean peninsula and the whole Asia-Pacific region. North Korea's Kim Jong-un held a two-day meeting wherein he said that Pyongyang's nuclear force-building policy has been made permanent as a basic law of the North Korean state. Kim hailed the constitutional change as a historic event that provided a powerful political lever for remarkably strengthening the national defense capabilities. He also urged North Korean officials to further promote solidarity with the nation standing against the U.S. and the West's strategy for hegemony and denounced the trilateral cooperation between U.S., South Korea, and Japan as the Asian version of NATO. The move came amid North Korea's continuous weapons tests. This year, Kim has promised to accelerate the production of nuclear weapons to deter what he described as U.S. provocations. North Korea's constitutional change also comes after Kim came back from Russia to meet President Vladimir Putin and agreed to boost military cooperation. On Tuesday, North Korea's envoy, Kim Song, addressed the UN General Assembly wherein he blamed South Korea and the United States for creating the situation in which North Korea is urgently required to further accelerate the buildup of their self-defense capabilities.
Owing to the reckless and continued hysteria of nuclear showdown on the part of the United States and its following forces, the year 2023 has been recorded as an extremely dangerous year, that the military security situation in and around the Korean Peninsula was driven closer to the brink of a nuclear war. From the beginning of the year, the United States and the Republic of Korea made hysterical remarks of confrontation, such as end of the regime and occupation of Pyongyang, in flagrant violation of the principles and purposes of the United Nations Charter. They staged largest-scale joint military exercises of clearly aggressive nature, one after another, on our doorstep, including the Freedom Shield, Sangyeong Combined Joint Fire Annihilation Drill, and Ulchi Freedom Shield. After fabricating the so-called Nuclear Consultative Group in April, committed to the planning, operation, and execution of a preemptive nuclear strike against the DPRK, the United States is now moving on to the practical stage of realizing its sinister intention to provoke a nuclear war by frequently dispatching strategic nuclear submarines and strategic nuclear bombers carrying nuclear weapons in and around the Korean Peninsula for the first time in decades.
The move also comes a day after North Korea released U.S. soldier Travis King, who had been flown back to America recently. This happened 2 months after he sprinted across the heavily fortified border into the north, claiming he ran there because of racial discrimination and inhumane treatment. Reporting, this has been Jane Conita, SMNI News.
The Iranian Navy reiterated its desire to build its own military base to the Earth's South Pole. Melchizedek Cadiz has the details.
For the second time, Iranian Navy Commander Rear Admiral Shahram Irani said that the country is planning to build a research base in Antarctica. According to the Navy chief, the country looks forward to conducting military and scientific work at the South Pole as well as to proudly raise the flag of Iran in Antarctica. Irani also praised the Islamic Republic's two-ship 86 fleet, which completed a circumnavigation voyage dubbed the 360-degree mission around the world back in May. In the same month, the government revealed its desire to send warships to Antarctica in the near future, and that the round-the-world expedition performed by the flotilla was a preparation for the said mission. Moreover, the Navy chief said the flotilla broke the hegemony of world powers and that the mission reasserted Iran's global maritime presence. Irani made the statement during the commemoration of the Sacred Defense Week, an event held in remembrance of the 1980-1988 war between Iran and Iraq. Reporting this has been Melchizedek Cadiz, SMNI News, Kuwait.
Meanwhile, Cordillerans UK organized an eventful autumn gala ball in Royal National Hotel, London, to raise funds for the benefit of indigenous peoples back in the Philippines. Bridget Valencia reports.
We are currently here in Royal National Hotel, London, where Cordillerans UK organized an eventful night of entertainment coupled with a fashion show to raise funds in support to the needs of indigenous peoples back in the Philippines. The call for nation-building culture in the Philippines continues to reverberate, especially here in the United Kingdom this year 2023. Private events, fashion shows, and barrio fiestas were happening left and right to promote Filipino culture, but most importantly, it became a way to raise funds for the underprivileged citizens in the Philippines. This time, Cordillerans UK organized a fashion show promoting Filipiniana couture and modernized dresses using Filipino native garments.
For this gala, again, we're trying to make some funds for the indigenous people in Quirino, the AITAs, because it's getting cold. They're asking us for blankets, mats, and physical hygiene for the teenagers. So that's the reason why we're here doing this fundraising event. So hopefully everyone will have a good time here. And thank you again, SMNI, for documenting this event like what you've done last March. So for tonight, we're having a fashion show, and we're showcasing the creations of Jessalyn Yu Couture from the Philippines, and we'll be showing a lot of all the modern Filipiniana gowns. So I hope everyone will have a great time in watching the fashion show.
On the other hand, some of the guests were able to express why they supported this particular event.
Anything that will be collected from this event will be used for the indigenous peoples in Quirino province, especially the AITAs. It really has impact on one kid, and for this event you will enjoy and you will get more than the price that you paid for, and to think that it will go for charity is more than enough.
I'm here to support the Cordillerans UK because just like the President said, he was so proud of all of us here because he can see that we are united in promoting our culture. So thank you so much, SMNI, for covering this very, very generous event. And obviously, this is for our AITAs. Mabuhay ang Pilipino!
Finally, the husband of the organizer, Mr. Steve Haste, who is also currently working for the new Metro Manila subway project, shares his appreciation of the Filipino culture and was happy to share some of his experiences living in the Philippines.
From a family perspective, we give way to supporting Rose while she arranges this event from both the UK and from the Philippines. I live and work in the Philippines on the new Metro Manila subway project. Living in the Philippines is mind-blowing. We all love the Philippines. It's the culture, the people, the lifestyle. It's fantastic. What can I say about the Philippines? Come and see it. For those who haven't experienced it, come and see it. Mabuhay Philippines.
The outreach they did for the kids and teenagers last year made an impact and touched the hearts of those who are able to help more. And this time they are hoping to provide blankets, sanitary napkins for teenagers who cannot afford to buy, and other personal necessities they can provide before the cold season in the Philippines. For God and my beloved Philippines, this has been Bridget Valencia, SMNI News, United Kingdom.
A pro-China triumph in Maldives presidential elections, finally a potential shift in the nation's foreign policy and its relationship with India. Natalia Prado will tell us more about this live. Natalia?
Yes, David, Mohamed Muiz has won the Maldives presidential election. He is believed to be a pro-China candidate who beat the incumbent President Ibrahim Mohamed Solih. Mohamed Moise is the candidate of the coalition of the Progressive Party of Maldives and the People's National Congress. The runoff elections feature a head-to-head contest between incumbent President Ibrahim Mohamed Solih and Moise, who is also the mayor of the capital city, Malé. Moise's party oversaw a significant increase in Chinese loans during its previous rule. Moise received over 54% of the vote in the runoff election, prompting incumbent Ibrahim Mohamed Solih to concede. Solih remained as caretaker president until Moise's inauguration on November 17. This election result marks a setback for Solih's efforts to shift the Maldives' diplomatic alignment back towards New Delhi. Moise, who played a role in the government development program funded in part by China's Belt and Road Initiative, has expressed his intention to strengthen ties with China. The Maldives holds a strategically vital position in the Indian Ocean along key shipping routes. Moise's mentor, former President Abdullah Yamin, heavily relied on Chinese funding for construction projects, causing strain in relations with India. Moise has promised to release Yamin, who is currently in prison for corruption, and transfer him to a house arrest. Deivid, the voter turnout was 85%. Watchdog Transparency Maldives said there had been some incidents of electoral violence, though it did not specify further details. Back to you, Deivid.
Thank you. That's Natalia Prado live from studios of the SMNI.
Meanwhile, thousands of people representing the Filipino-Australian community gathered for the 33rd annual grand celebration of the Fiesta Cultura. The month-long celebration held every October Labor Day weekend is one of the largest community festivals in Australia. Chilan Libuet has the story.
Led by the Filipino-Australian Sports and Culture Incorporated, thousands of people all over Sydney gathered together to celebrate the 33rd year annual grand celebration of Fiesta Cultura, also dubbed as the largest single-day Filipino community gathering in the Southern Hemisphere. Held every first Sunday of October, the Grand Philippine Sydney Fiesta Cultura is one of the largest community festivals in Australia, attracting tens and thousands of people not only from Sydney but also from all over the country. It has been Australia's biggest and longest-running Filipino community festival since 1989 and has been described as the biggest gathering of Filipino culture, food and beauty at an event outside the Philippines. True to its theme of harmony and diversity, the event aims to gather various nationalities and backgrounds for one whole month, with thousands of people partaking in crowds on a day packed with cultural shows, variety shows, singing, dancing, and food tripping. The highlight of the event was the crowning of Miss Philippine Australia and Charity Queen Beauty, who, along with the Philippine Australian Sports and Culture, or PASC contingent, will personally hand the event proceedings to the charity's recipients, which include Home for the Angels, St. Peter's Orphanage, Samara University, and the Technological University of the Philippines, with one lucky student from the university chosen to be the 30th Engineer Scholar helped by the PASC. Opposition Leader of the federal government and Australia's former Defence Minister, Honourable Peter Dutton, graced the event by initiating the ribbon-cutting ceremony. Meanwhile, Parliamentary Secretary for Multiculturalism, Honourable Mark Robert Buttigieg, shared the impact of the Filipino community on New South Wales and Australia, wherein he hailed the cultural and linguistic diversity the Filipino community brings to Australia.
Well, the Filipino community's had a massive impact on both New South Wales and Australia because of the linguistic diversity and the size of the community and the cultural diversity that they bring to the country is very, very important to us because it allows us to grow as a nation and see different cultures, different languages, different food, and the very vibrant nature of the people also makes us more interested in having fun and being alive. So very, very big contribution.
Aside from the pageant and the variety of Filipino cuisine which he enjoyed, Buttigieg said it was also an honor to be invited to the said gathering as the Parliamentary Secretary for Multiculturalism representing the New South Wales government.
I felt it was an honour to be able to represent the New South Wales government because I'm the Parliamentary Secretary for Multiculturalism, and it's my job to encourage multiculturalism and diversity. And because I know the Filipino community's got such a big stake in New South Wales and they contribute so much to it, it's very important for me to come out here and see it in person and say a few words of support. And we fund the Filipino community to do that every year from the New South Wales budget, and we'll continue to do it. It's very important.
Member for the Blacktown City Council in Parliament, Stephen Bali, on the other hand, commended the contribution of the Filipino community to Australia.
At the Filipino community, whether it's in sport, whether it's in academia, whether it's in health, particularly in nursing and medicine, whether it's in academia, whether it's in the business community, the Filipino community are doing wonderful things. And I live in the Blacktown area, and Blacktown probably has close to 50% of all the Filipino community lives in Blacktown. So they're wonderful people, and personally I got lots of great Filipino friends, and look, I could even quite happily say on the record, if it wasn't for the Filipino community, I probably never would have got into politics, so they've helped me out immensely.
Unang-una, nais kong iparating ang mainit na pagbati sa organizers ng event na ito, pinangungunahan ni Ms. Marivic Ayak Flores. I wish Paski more success upang mapanatili nito at mapagpatuloy itong festival na ito sa mga susunod pang taon. At sa mga Pilipino dito sa NSW at sa buong Australia at sa mga tagapakinig at tagapanood ng SMNI, binabati ko po kayo, magandang araw po. The Philippine Consulate is always open to serve the Filipinos here and in the entire Australia.
To Pastor about Quiboloy, thank you so much for the opportunity you've given us to expose or show to the world the Grand Filipino. This is the Grand Philippine Fiesta Cultura, the longest and biggest fiesta or Grand Fiesta here in New South Wales, here in Sydney. Thank you for your support, and in return, we would like to support you as well by having, every year, please do remember that we're here, and I would love for you people to come here as well.
Fiesta Cultura indeed is a one-of-a-kind event where not only Filipinos but people of all nations and ethnicities can appreciate and celebrate the Filipino values and culture. For my beloved Philippines, this has been Jillian Libuet, SMNI News, Australia.
Days after the House of Representatives removed the confidential funds in the proposed 2024 budget of the Vice President and the Department of Education, Pastor Apollo C. Quiboloy has expressed his support to Vice President Sara Duterte. Troy Gomez reports.
With a slight touch of humor, but is really serious, is Pastor Apollo C. Quiboloy in defending Vice President Sara Duterte against fraudulent issues recently hurled against her. In his live Thanksgiving and worship presentation on Sunday, watched by his millions of members and followers worldwide, Pastor Apollo slammed the detractors of the Vice President. The good pastor believes that some groups and individuals are fueled by their own political interest in making noise meant to taint the image of the government official who has the highest trust rating in the country.
Ay makasi, tumitingin na sa 2028 At alam nilang mahal siya ng tao. So, medyo na-insecure na yung ibang may mga ambisyon na pumunta doon.
Recently, negative issues on the confidential fund of the Office of the Vice President and the Department of Education, which Vice President Sara leads as Secretary, have been hugging the news headlines on newspapers, radio, and TV. But the people behind the story and are frequently seen and heard are Senator Risa Hontiveros, ACT-Teachers Representative Franz Castro, Kabataan Representative Raul Manuel, and Gabriela Representative Arlene Brosas, who are part of what they call themselves as the progressive group of the House of Representatives.
Kasi alam nila, yung confidential fund na yon, gagamitin niya para maprotektahan ang mga kabataan sa DepEd laban sa mga gustong dalhin sila sa kapahamakan. Droga, kamatayan sa bundok, ma-recruit magiging PA.
If the said group think that Vice President Sara has been humiliated and has lost credibility in front of the people by the lower house removal of the confidential funds of the OVP and the Department of Education, it is a huge mistake. Pastor Apollo pointed out that the opposite is happening with the Vice President. He also stressed that the Filipinos' love for VP Sara will not change as they have witnessed her intentions in office as true public service.
Nung kinaltas yun sa kanya, lalong tumindi ang pag-ibig ng tao. At lalong nabilib ang Panginoon Diyos sa kanya. Kasi ang balak niya, layunin, hindi para sa kanyang sarili. Para sa bayang kanyang minamahal. Sa kabataan na kanyang minamahal. Kasi nakita niya kabulukan ng NPA.
In a related news, former presidential spokesperson Attorney Harry Roque has questioned the decision of the House leadership to give in to the wishes of the Makabayan bloc, who are sympathizers of the CPP-NPA. Roque also insisted that the said bloc should have not been included in the minority because it only gives them more exposure.
Alam mo, nung panahon namin, 17th Congress, na hindi kasama yan sa minority. Bakit? Pag sinama mo yan sa minority, binibigay mo sila ng limelight at yan nga ang nangyari. Bakit? Sa budget hearing, tradition sa House na ang majority hindi dapat nagtatanong kasi budget mo yan ba't mo tatanungin? So nakapagtatanong lang, minority, yun. Kita mo, nag-circus ang mga sympathizers ng mga terorista ang CPP-NPA.
The former presidential spokesperson reminded House Speaker Romualdez and House Committee on Appropriations Chairman Zaldico that they should help strengthen the UNITEAM, the political coalition they were part of during the last election.
Wag po sana natin sirain ganitong kaaga. Alam mo, sige, mag-ambisyon tayong lahat. Nasa atin po talaga yan. At talaga namang lahat ng politiko nais talagang tumaas pa. Pero wag naman pong ganitong kaaga. Bakit? Dahil importante nga po yung ating pagkakaisa para makamit natin yung ating mga pangako.
Even Senator Amy Marcos, President Bongbong Marcos' older sister, is dismayed by all the political drama aimed to discredit the Vice President.
Alam mo, nakakaloka na yung banat kay VP Sara. Ang aga-aga naman nila. Yung mga atat na tumakbo sa 2028, alalahanin 5 taon pa. 5 taon pa, huwag kayo nagmamadali. Grabe naman. Nabibinay ang pobreng VP natin. Wag naman ganun.
For God and my beloved country, the Philippines, Troy Gomez reporting, SMNI News.
China and Cambodia express a strong desire to bring their ties to the next level by various means, as the two countries mark 65 years of strong diplomatic ties. Trisha Molina has the details.
Cambodia and China vowed to boost people-to-people connections as both countries commemorate nearly 7 decades of bilateral ties. The two countries have formally established diplomatic relations on July 19, 1958. However, their historical alliance dates back centuries through trade, diplomacy, and migration. This year's anniversary, held at the Sun and Moon Riverside Hotel in Phnom Penh, was hosted by the Chinese ambassador to Cambodia, Wang Wentian. This event also marked the 74th anniversary of the founding of the People's Republic of China. The government of Cambodia thanked the Chinese government and its people for the continuous support and assistance to the Southeast Asian nation in all sectors. Chinese and Cambodian leaders have engaged in high-profile diplomatic talks this month, including Prime Minister Han Minet's visit to China in mid-September, a week after Chinese President Xi Jinping and Cambodian King Norodom Sihamoni met in Hangzhou during the opening ceremony of the 19th Asian Games. Chinese and Cambodian military personnel also launched a joint exercise dubbed Peace Angel 2023 last month. Reporting for Newsline World, this has been Trisha Molina, SMNI News.
And for sport news, Filipinos Gimna Carlos Julio qualified for Paris Olympics 2024. Meanwhile, Yomir Marshall secured a bronze medal in the 19th Asian Games. Andrea Santos tells us more.
Filipino Gymnast Carlos Yulo qualified for next year's Paris Olympics after finishing third in the flawed exercise qualification in the 2023 World Artistic Gymnastics Championships in Antwerp, Belgium. Yulo earned 14.6 points, just behind Artem Golgopyat of Israel, who earned 15.1 points, and Fred Richard of USA, who earned 14.6 points. Yulo missed the initial opportunity to claim an Olympic ticket via the men's all-round qualification after finishing 91st. According to the rules of the International Gymnastics Federation, the highest-ranked eligible athlete in each apparatus in the World Championships will get an Olympic berth. Yulo is the second Filipino athlete to qualify for the Paris Olympics. The first was EJ Obiena, who paved the Philippines its very first gold medal in the 90th Asian Games in Hangzhou, China. Meanwhile, Filipino boxer Yumir Marshall secured a bronze medal for the country. This is after he knocked out Southeast Asian Games champion Wirapon Jongjoho of Thailand in the men's 80-kilogram class. The Filipino boxer knocked out his opponent in the second round of the light heavyweight quarterfinals with a right hook. Prior to this, Marshall was counted by standing 8 count in round 1. He is set to enter the semifinals to face Ahmad Guson of Syria. For God and my beloved country, the Philippines, this is Andres Santos, SMNI News.
While South Korean's esports teams win gold at the 19 Asian Games in Hangzhou, this exempts them from the country's mandatory military service. Kai Vilan has the details.
South Korea's League of Legends team won gold after beating Taiwan on Friday at the 19th Asian Games. This feat enables them to skip the country's mandatory military service. In South Korea, all able-bodied men aged between 18 and 28 must serve in the military for 1.5 years to 2 years. South Korea's law exempts athletes, classical and traditional musicians, ballet dancers, among others, from enlisting in the mandatory military service if they bring national prestige to the country. Tricolor national team coach Kim Jong-un shrugged off questions regarding the issue, saying that a sense of duty of representing South Korea will be the only motivation for esports players. Reporting for Newsline World, Kai Vilan, SMNI News.
And before we end, may you be inspired with the message of the appointed Son of God. I have peace because the Father is with me.
And for our Christmas countdown, it's only 83 days to go before Christmas. And that's all for today's edition of Newsline World. For more news update, you may visit smninewschannel.com or follow us on our official social media accounts on Rumble, Facebook, and Twitter. For God and Country, I'm Mayk Dennis Oliveira.
For God and Country, I'm Deivid Lira. Thank you for watching Newsline World, and thank you to our beloved pastor, Pastor Apollo C. Quiboloy, for the opportunity to be part of this program.
May you continue to always listen on SMNI as it delivers nothing but fair, truthful, and balanced news. Because SMNI is your source of credible news.